Being a Jedi is cool. Jedi Survivor picks up the already excellent formula of Fallen Order and elevates it with more compelling combat, far more elaborate world design, and a narrative that drips confident writing from beginning to end. When we first rejoin Cal on his mission to help the Resistance, he is a full-fledged Jedi Knight, with all the abilities and force powers he worked through his trauma so hard or in Fallen Order. Starting as a member of Saul Guerrera's team doing a heist on a senator on Coruscant, Cal quickly feels the hopelessness set in as years of resistance have done little to slow the aggressive oppression of the Empire. Desperate and down, Cal seeks out his old friends, and his adventure leads him to a High Republic-era protocol droid that tells him the tale of a lost planet outside the galaxy beyond the influence of the Empire. Along this path, Cal discovers Dagan Gera, a High Republic Jedi Knight who originally discovered Tanalorr, that planet beyond the Abyss. This is where the story gets me and why I got so excited. Despite being set in the well-trodden era between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, Survivor resists the urge to put on iconic moments like Star Wars' greatest hit tracks and instead leans deep into this High Republic connection. As Cal's fear of losing again and again lead him down a dark path, he seeks refuge in this concept of a space outside of the oppressive Empire. Survivor deftly handles these themes of fear, loss, obsession, even putting a mirror up to Cal in the form of Dagan. This ancient Jedi Knight felt betrayed by the former Jedi Council and is pulled into his own darkness, falling deeper into his obsession with reclaiming Tanalorr for himself. The conflict brewing between them sets up a few excellent questions. How far is too far? How much of yourself are you willing to sacrifice for your cause? And can you really just turn your back on the fight when there's still a fight left to fight? Did I say fight too many times? Okay, so story's great, but I don't want to talk about it for too much because I don't want to accidentally spoil something for you. So let's talk about the gameplay. Well, first things first, Respawn, congratulations, you avoided one of the most notorious pitfalls of any sequel, depowering the player. Cal starts off his time on the capital planet with lightsaber in hand, force powers at the ready, and his double jump and wall running skills up to par. His lightsaber skills have also improved drastically. It really feels like he's been out in the bamboo for the last 5 years training to become the greatest swordsman of all time. His swings are more precise and powerful, and they're only enhanced by the variety of new stances from which he can choose. Combat is fast-paced but also requires careful thought, as well as Jedi-like patience. Especially fun are the lightsaber duels with non-force wielding characters who have lightsabers. Each mission and world eventually leads to more powerful abilities too. For instance, by the time you finish that opening mission, you've also acquired a brand new grappling hook, further increasing Cal's mobility. This begins a steady drip feed of new abilities growing our Jedi arsenal. Unfortunately for our growing Jedi boy here, he isn't the only one who's gotten more competent. This game throws new types of enemies into the mix consistently, made all the more challenging by the sheer number of enemies in some cases. This makes your choice of stance and where to place your skill points all the more important. Besides the already versatile options available at the opening of the game, such as the double-bladed lightsaber and the dual-wield stance, Survivor grants 2 additional stances to Cal throughout his adventure. The blaster stance, which grants you, a blaster, as well as a lightsaber, allowing you to charge in for quick hits after a flurry of blaster bolts. Effectively timing these moves together can make larger encounters way more fun and easily manageable. If you like a heftier hitting sword form, can I introduce you to my chill friend, the crossguard stance? A moveset that hits like a pissed off Rancor while also offering the best defense in the game. I legit don't understand why some people seem to hate this. Do you guys hate fun? I mean, look at this. That rules. Come on. These options allow for way more versatility, while still making you have to think carefully about your selection. Neither one of these is more overpowered than the other, and both need patience to master. Cal also isn't alone on his journey, though, mostly he will be. But occasionally, Marin or newcomer Bode will join the fight, helping you take out enemies and creating some rad-looking co-op takedowns. The back-and-forth banter only adds to the charming relationships that they develop throughout. There's also a good variety of optional encounters, from legendary enemies to challenge mode force rifts that give you an opportunity to hone your saber work. Skill points can also be respec if you fancy trying out some other focus, and you can even spend some time practicing at meditation points. Not that you'll have time or that I ever had time, because Cal's vastly improved lightsaber, blaster, and clothing customizations had me constantly tinkering with his look, my saber color and build, or just seeing if maybe I wanted a scope on my blaster for some reason. I don't think I passed a single workbench without immediately making some change to my lightsaber build. This need for more and more customization options also lured me into chasing any chest I saw. I checked every inch of every area before moving on just to make sure I didn't miss a new haircut or lightsaber part. Alongside this more cerebral take on the civilized weapon of the Jedi is a reinvigorated world design. Respawn has taken their vision of Metroidvania level making and expanded it outward to a more open world style. This creates a far more lived-in space full of local legends to investigate, puzzles to solve, and carefully hidden collectibles to uncover, not to mention bounty hunters to take on. The recursive design elements of this style can sometimes mean missing those all-important meditation sites can have you sent back miles from where you started. But ultimately that, I got a new thing, I better go try to make that shortcut work so I can go back and unlock that thing I couldn't unlock before, style of design really does pay off. Movement plays a huge role here too. I fully fell in love with the forced parkour challenges. These really nailed down the force-assisted movement that once mastered makes even the most insane traversal seem doable. Speaking of the world, the new hub area consisting of a western-style town full of prospectors and farmers is a really charming and welcome addition. Koboh features a lot of interesting residents, and recruiting and building on them is a lot of fun and drives most of the side activities. Some of them become vendors for cosmetics, and some simply just tell you about local stuff that's going on that you should go explore. Meanwhile, others are a DJ droid that just wants to drop a sick beat at the local bar. It really makes the world feel fully alive to see normal people in Star Wars just eking out an exam, even if most of these characters are fairly one-dimensional. The craziest part about this game, though, is how much in common it has with last year's Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Don't laugh. Not just because this game is less linear and more open than its predecessor, or because it has cute creatures that you can battle and collect, kind of, but because this is a game from one of the biggest media franchises in the world, published by one of the largest game publishers in the world from a AAA studio that is so full of weird jank, visual issues, and truly unacceptable polish problems, and yet I can't believe I'm still going to give it as high a score as I'm going to. Look, frame rate issues are abound throughout this game. Textures tear and break and sometimes don't load in properly, and sometimes an enemy doesn't spawn exactly right. All of those things can be patched. Ultimately, they didn't take away from my enjoyment that much, or I would definitely lower the score here. But do you know what can't be patched? The story. And I can't get over how excellent the story is. Cal walks the fine line of light and dark more so than any character since Anakin has. So much so, he gets to the point where he even has to embrace some aspects of his own darkness. His journey to find safety and a life outside the influence of the Empire conflicts with his desire to fight for the hope of the galaxy, putting his values to the test as he sees more and more sacrifices of his souls and of his friends, just trying to do what he thinks he has to do. He's only ever known war. He's only ever known the lightsaber as a weapon. I love seeing Cal and the crew of the Mantis reunite to find Tanalorr with the promise of a fresh start. Everyone's characters progress outside the game in the 5-year gap, and you can really feel how much more mature this team is this time around. Moment-to-moment dialogue only helps to build on this sense of emotional growth. While the main story starts off a little slow in the beginning, it quickly turns into a tale whose key tenet reminds me of a recent quote from Yoda in the High Republic comics, where he reminds another Jedi that the struggle between light and dark is not a one-time victory. It's a battle we face daily. It's not enough to just fight for what is right. You have to fight for what is good with good. Cal's willingness to walk his own path outside of the confines created by the Jedi Order is more in line with the views of the Grey Jedi, and I freaking love the idea that Cal's a Grey Jedi. Ultimately, this is an incredible Star Wars story, a thrilling odyssey in its own right, and an action game full of exhilarating, thoughtfully constructed showdowns, and a ton of interesting locations to get to explore. So despite its various flaws and technical difficulties, I'm still going to give this game a 9. That being said, hey EA, next time just delay the game, my guy. Respawn would have loved more time to make every part of this game shine like chromium. They would have loved to make sure that all the animations were 100% fluid at 60 FPS. I know they would have. And look, I know patches are coming, but still, it sucks whenever we have to talk like this about a game that is ultimately incredible. Okay, rant over. Jedi Survivor is a vast improvement on everything in Fallen Order, and now ranks up in the top of my favorite Star Wars. Respawn has effectively recaptured that sense of wonder Star Wars gives me and wrapped it in an excellent narrative with gloriously fun combat that fully encaptures the power of the Jedi while also expanding the lore in new and inventive ways. Even if you aren't a strong Star Wars fan, this game offers a thrilling adventure story to engross yourself in. It may not be perfect, but man, being a Jedi will never stop being a thrill. If you like this review, why not leave a like on our video? And hey, why not subscribe so you don't miss our next one? For Hardwired, I'm Andrew Hamilton.